The next panelist is Mr. Massimiliano Claps. He's a Global VP for Future Cities at SAP, at SAP.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks, Penny, for the kind introduction. I guess for those in the audience who don't know who SAP is, we are a global software company, about 85,000 employees. We work with many of the cities that Venkat mentioned, came out of the Google search. So we work with Paris, we work with Vienna, we work with Boston. So thanks for that intro, that was a useful one. And we work with the ecosystem, very much to our previous discussion point. We work with utilities, with construction and engineering companies, with transit authorities, and so forth and so on. And I promise to the audience, it wasn't planned, but we have our view of what a smart city is, right? So it is very much about the ecosystem. It is about changing the outcomes for the citizens, transforming the way services are delivered, and it is enabled by technology and data, but it's not about technology and data per se. And when you think of the outcomes, we look at the service outcomes for the city at least from the perspective of 5 domains. So you have your core governance, being able to manage the resources in a transparent way. And that's what SAP has been doing for 40 years. Then you have transportation, the people-centric services, the economic development, and managing the environment and the physical resources in a sustainable way. And besides governance, all of the other 4 areas is where we have invested in the past 5 to 10 years to do more innovative things. And that is where I would like to focus. That's the piece where we have built on top of our core strength and integrated the smart part of the city with the end-to-end process. And the challenge is usually not about coming up with a lot of new use cases and solutions for each of those domains. There's plenty of ideas in cities around the globe, in India, in the startup ecosystems to solve specific problems. The challenge is in connecting the dots across those domains. So it's very much an ecosystem question from definitely a connectivity perspective, but from a data perspective, from an end-to-end business process perspective. And that will help drive what really matters. The ecosystem innovation, the process innovation, the business model innovation. And let me give you 2 quick examples. We've been working with the city of Auckland in New Zealand to change the way they process service with their citizens. Instead of being siloed across different departments, they have stood up with the help of SAP a platform for digital service delivery across 25 services and build a 360-degree view of the citizen need and requirements to be proactive in the service delivery. In terms of business model, I was having a conversation with a city in Eastern Europe, not yet an SAP client, but they are doing interesting stuff. They're working with the local telecom company. They get a freemium service for Wi-Fi access through the city, but then they have an agreement with a telco company so that the telco company can reuse the data to help local retailers detect patterns of pedestrian traffic through the city, so that the retailers can think of promotions, or they can use that data for the local museum and heritage sites to drive better traffic and focus the tourists towards certain attractions. And how we think of enabling that is through the combination of what we call the systems of record, so the strong backend, the citizen engagement platform, and what we call the systems of innovation. The ability to ingest, aggregate, analyze, and drive the value out of data, and then drive back the input into the process. I had the pleasure to be in the water management, smart water session this morning. I mentioned one example where the city of Buenos Aires aggregated data from storm drain sensors and from weather forecast to predict the risk of flooding, and then injected that data into the business process because they add a solid enterprise asset management system to trigger work orders and send those work orders on mobile apps for the field engineers and the field maintenance crew to clean up the storm drains and reduce the risk of flooding. And we don't expect cities to buy everything in one go or build everything in one go. We understand there are existing systems to integrate with, and there are different starting points. So it could be the digital backbone with the back office operation and citizen engagement. Some cities are starting from the platform layers. Other cities are starting with an analytics view or a command and control center view. And some cities are starting with the flashy apps for the citizen to report a pothole. Some of these starting points are more sustainable than others, but what we aspire to do at SAP is accommodate the different starting points and then help the city converge towards a sustainable roadmap for the future. And we have mapped our capabilities, and we continuously build our capabilities from the back end, what we now call S4, to the data platform with our ANA technology, to our hybrid citizen engagement capabilities, and to our Leonardo IoT analytics blockchain solutions for the market. And it's not just a view for the future. We have worked with cities across the globe. I mentioned Buenos Aires. The city of Antibes is very interesting, not just because of what they're doing in terms of managing their water network with IoT sensors to do preventive maintenance, but also because they designed the solution with an advanced cybersecurity capability embedded from the get-go. They have a real-time intrusion detection system that they could engineer in collaboration with Sigfox and SAP Labs and their local utility, Veolia. Karlsruhe, we've done smart lighting. I mentioned Auckland. The City of Brussels Transit Authority has been working with us to deploy analytics capabilities and aggregate data from ticketing machine, from turnstiles, from social media, to make sure they better plan their routes, they adjust service management, and they react to operational emergencies or events throughout the city. And we have cities in India where we've been working for a long time from a back-end perspective to make sure they manage their resources in an appropriate way. And we have a program in place to engage with cities in India to do some of the innovative stuff that we have already been doing across the globe. We don't expect to do that alone. We're not in the market to conquer the world. We aspire very much to work with partners, both the global or Indian-specific partners like Tata, for example, to scale delivery. We aspire to work with startups that have the capability to build the smart apps on top. And we work to embed our capabilities with global OEMs like Philips or Bosch and so forth and so on. So if I had to give you in a nutshell what we aspire to do differently, we aspire to bring our expertise from across industries to very much impact that ecosystem discussion across local utilities, transit authorities, telcos, and municipalities. We aspire to help cities make sense of data. Data are a strategic asset. How can they be used and shared across those ecosystem boundaries? And then we aspire to connect the dots between the core back-end processes and the ability to innovate. We aspire not to just react to events or enable city to react to events like an emergency call or an accident or a disruption in the grid, but we aspire to embed that intelligence in the process to really change the business model and drive a different set of outcomes for the citizens. Thank you.